Welcome, friends. Good to see everyone. Very much, really. So just to give a basic approach for what this day is kind of structured like, this morning session is more of a kind of contemplation together. And then there's a break with kind of like, for anyone who wants to stay, we'll probably like do a relaxed picnic in some nearby little park and just like have a picnic time to just hang out for anyone who wants. And then right after that, from 2 to 4, will be like more of a practice session together, more meditation. And I think it's going to be a Guru Rinpoche or Guru Padmasambhava kind of soak meditation. We'll bring some food offerings and do a puja or a meditation practice together from about 2 to 4. So this morning sessions from now until about noon, and then a little break with kind of relaxed lunch for anyone who wants to, and then the afternoon specifically more practice. So the morning's more the study, afternoon's more the practice. They're both always trying to be held together. And then of course we'll intermingle them in each of those sessions. So that's the basic structure of the day. And then just to begin, how to begin. So the topic itself for today is something called like awakening fearlessness in the Bardos of life, death, and rebirth. And so we have an hour and a half to kind of feel through, look at, open up, and explore like a topic like the Bardos and life and death and all the struggle and suffering and beauty and awakening. So it's kind of like we have a little bit of time to explore kind of the full range of reality, which is a kind of an impossibility if we expect to do it all in an hour. But if we expect to have a few really impactful, really high quality, deep moments of actual enlightened, liberative awareness, that's possible. That can happen. We can definitely have a moment of enlightened awareness in the next hour. And that's the whole practicing to do it. We can come out of Bardo framing, Bardo mind, Bardo grabbing, wondering. We can do it in a minute. And that's what all these Bardo teachings are about. Like, how do we do this? How do we really see through kind of how the Bardos are, what the nature of the Bardos are, how our awareness creates the Bardos or doesn't. And once we kind of release our Bardo way of kind of holding on to experience, then freedom, naturalness is right there. And then this is a really deep instruction that goes straight through all of Buddha's teachings, and specifically is highlighted with a lot of richness and detail in the Tibetan Buddhists of the Vajrayana, the indestructible vehicle teachings of Guru Rinpoche and the Buddha. And so part of like a challenge for me is someone who's like going to talk more, and then we're going to open it up and kind of share the inquiry together. But part of my kind of challenge is to do really essential, essence, pithy things that can be remembered, and to like actually honor a lineage that's like this robust, vast, profound treasury of details and enacted practices and like a lot of specific nuance. So I'm trying to do the simple, complex thing at the same time. And in the end, like as a Droa wandering being like myself, I was just talking to a Tibetan Buddhist friend yesterday, Helge Dokam. He's the one who introduced me to Khenpo Rinpoches. He's literally the first person I heard their name from. He was just kind of reflecting on Dharma and the world, and it's helpful to think. He said, and nowadays, like we need to give people like some simple things they can remember, and not just give this flood of Dharma, of which there's like 84,000, or in the Tantra version, 3,400,000 instructions, sets of whole teachings. Need to give something so that in the end of like a Dharma kind of gathering, people feel like I'm not wondering as much. I have some clarity, I have some rootedness, I have something I can really work with and explore further. And so that's kind of part of a challenge of both me and us as kind of people who have at least some degree of interest in Buddha Dharma. We need to actually have like the main point clear, but then we need to live the main point in our lives, which means like in bodies, in relationships, in ecologies, in moods, in swings, like, which is a lot of detail. It's called life. It's like getting here was like subway or bus or dropping off and lunch and it's all detail, so much detail, right? So not trying to get lost in the weeds, but also not trying to abstractly kind of hover so far out in outer space that like there's some core principles that we have no idea how we could apply them to like today, you know? So I'm toggling this, okay? And I hope you are too as a practitioner, because if we're not getting to the main point and seeing what the secondary conditions are that support it, it's going to be a lot of kind of wasted opportunity. There's a maze, reality's a maze. Interdependence is quite nuanced. We need to like have some clear ideas about what's like reliable to kind of work, and then really deal with the happening detail nuance that we're a part of right now. So we need to be able to do both of these things. And so presenting something as vast as Bardos, these in-between states or this kind of wandering experience that the Buddha explicitly opened up very vastly in Tibetan Buddhism or Vajrayana, it's like a big challenge to cover such a vast terrain of teachings and practices, and I'm in no way, I mean, we're just like pulling the blinds back of like a whole universe of teachings, okay? So that's just like a caveat on kind of more how to approach this like brief window of time together. And I'm gonna kind of full throttle jump in, okay? So like otherwise the time, there's a lot to cover. But the way to do that is always come back to the mind right now. That's always the like full throttle direct thing. Check our view, check our awareness, check our motivation right now. And the key point is always bodhicitta. The wisdom, heart, mind of enlightenment. Compassion and wisdom together, elegantly, naturally, simply. Vast open heart, sharp, clear, pristine, fresh awareness. Wisdom and big-hearted compassion. This is called bodhicitta. So that what we're doing now is for every single being, all the parent, mother beings, father beings, sister, brother beings, all the beings, everyone's aching. We're all aching. So much uncertainty every moment. So we're doing our best in a moment of awareness to genuinely care that there is that ache. There is this suffering, and how can I better show up for beings? And that's what the path is about. How can I get my own kind of direct, embodied, clear, knowing intelligence to then show up helpfully, like now, with the people I'm with the animals I'm with, in the place I'm at. And then it changes, and then I show up accurately again as best as I can. That's bodhicitta. That's always the main point. And so really, always the beginning is activate bodhicitta. So we do that now, a genuine, tender-hearted, brave, courageous view. We're going to do this for the enlightenment and the happiness, short and long-term happiness of every single being, ourselves included, but it's infinite beings. So we turn that on, and then we'll silently abide in that bodhicitta. They're called absolute bodhicitta. And then from within that kind of openness of absolute bodhicitta, we're going to go to this page 14, 7-line prayer of Guru Padmasambhava. Definitely we need the support of the wisdom beings, the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Arhats. There's no reason to try to like not receive guidance from beings who are experts that know a lot more than us. It's just a stupid thing to do. I'm going to figure it out all on my own. We can do the hyper-individualist thing. It's just dumb. It's just a dumb thing in the context of wondering in infinite possibilities. It's just like not smart. So we're going to connect to wisdom beings who've like really fully activated love, compassion, and wisdom, and like connecting to their intelligence and their guidance, becoming receptive to actually love and compassion and wisdom. We'll recite these prayers together with lineage prayers of these lineage masters. And then we'll kind of open the space and directly go into these Bardo teachings. And if ever you want to kind of like interject and stop and be in a point, or like be like, hey, Drachpa, let's just pause and have silence and like meditate and open up. I'll like hit a bell and we can do that. Just kind of let me know. And we'll kind of dive in deeper somewhere, or we'll pause and open somewhere. But again, the time is short. And so like it's also your choice to like how we want to shape this time together. So please just help shape it. Yeah. So first, just a silent absolute bodhicitta moment that has this fresh, vivid, loving, wakeful capacity turned on brightly. And then that'll turn into words and into kind of motions and gestures, which is the relative bodhicitta, as these prayers will do to Guru Rinpoche and all the lineage masters, page 14. So the key point here is just relax. Just let it go. Your awareness is already fine. Nothing to do. Just relax. So from this vast openness, it's not trying to hold anything. It's just being. Then highlight this kind of connective, like dazzling, bright compassion, this love, and just let it like permeate space. Let the love from your heart, from your mind, just instantly saturate all of space with genuine care and compassion. Let your love bring ease and refreshment to all the people you're close with. They feel so happy and jubilant, like to receive your love. And your love instantly like touches all the strangers, people you just passed on the street, people you might have connected with yesterday and the day before, and all the beings, all the little microbes in your gut, and the little like, invisible teeny beings in the corners of the room, and Buenos Aires and Jupiter. All these unknown stranger beings. Let the love hit them too. And they're just so happy. Wow, someone loves me. Wow, I'm awesome. Wow, Buddha nature is real. Yay. They celebrate. So refreshed. Let your compassion be that for them. Refreshing this vast openness, this creative, delightful kindness, and let it touch all the beings you've had conflict with, struggle with, aggression towards, don't understand them. How can they be so dumb? Why did they do that to me? All these kinds of situations we've been through with these beings, let all that go. These beings are like little babies, just like us. They don't know how to be free. They don't know what's good for them. And we keep making so many mistakes. Like wounded animal, we can't help but just bite each other. It's so sad. It's like really samsara suffering. We're constantly wounded, just hurting each other. Like let your love and your kindness, your brave compassion, just like pour on them. It's okay. Like forgive these things. Let that go. It's not who they are. It's not who you are. Just like let kindness be there. Let your love really be there. They're a beautiful being. You're a beautiful being. Let that be the kind of genuine thread of your connection. Let your compassion really kind of bring that to like a really honest light. There's a being you just kind of can't really give your love to. Just can't do it. There's too much tension there. Then let all the love and compassion of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, let their love pour and saturate, relieve this being. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they can do it. There's no restriction for their love, their kindness. It's okay if we're temporarily holding back. But let the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas really genuinely have their love, their compassion, their intelligence like saturate this relationship and that being so that they're totally refreshed. They see clearly and that they only kind of realize love and compassion. That's the natural condition of themselves too. And then just kind of let it kind of happen and they enjoy and relax. Now release all that. Just bring it back to simplicity, vast openness, kind, warm-hearted care, simple, unrestricted throughout all space. And now that union of openness and this compassion, pervasive compassion, this union becomes Guru Padmasambhava instantly in the space in front of you. Seed syllable samadhi, the union of absolute and relative freedom and fullness. However we say it, this infinite heart and this infinite clarity of mind come together in form. And the body, the shape, the form is Guru Rinpoche, is in the sky in front. Transcendental wisdom rainbow body, embodiment of every single Buddha, Bodhisattva, Arhat, all the noble ones throughout the 3 times and 10 directions. Instantly his light of wisdom and compassion is pervading all of space, saturating all the beings, including us. And here we pray to him. Page 14 in this sadhana, we recite the 7-line prayer, the spontaneous, self-resounding Vajra song of Guru Padmasambhava on the nature of reality. we connect with his wisdom of compassion. And then we'll say this prayer 3 times, and if you don't want to say it, no worry, just enjoy the sound of it. Page 14, we'll say the prayer and then kind of name these other beings that have also fully realized their own nature of love, compassion, wisdom, or bodhicitta. And we'll connect to their wisdom blessings and kind of in their field of space, of guidance, their mandala. And the rest of this time together will happen in that kind of sacred world. Sadam Polam Yazinjugi Nurubni Emadune Jesurang Kodu Kadrum Hampeko Jeji Jesu Dabdubji Jinji Lom Jansam Pemage Sadam Poblam Yazan Yugi Nurubni Pemadune Jesurang Kodu Kadru Mambeko Jeji Jesu Dam Tubji Jinji Lom Zizig Dukso Jansam Pemage Zadam Povlam Yazan Jugi Nurubnim Pemadune Jesurang Kodu Kadro Mambeko Jeji Jesu Dam Tubji Jinji Lom Zizig Dukso The next page, we'll recite Guru Rinpoche's mantra just a few times to make this auspicious connection with him. Om Ahum Benza Guru Apem Hasidi Hum. Om Ahum Benza Guru Apem Hasidi Hum. Om Ahum Benza Guru Apem Hasidi Hum. Now continuing ahead to page 20 with prayers to lamas of the lineage. Sumanta Bhadra, Bhadra Sattva, Pramana Bhadra, Sri Singha, Pamakara, the 25 king and subjects, So, Zur, Nub, Nyang, and the 100 Tirtans and others, the lamas of the Kama and Terma lineages, to you I pray. In the past, you were the Vijayadhara, Nudan Dorje Tsal. In the future, you will be the Buddha Mopataye. Now you are the regent of Padmasambhava, the actual presence of Drukben Latsawa. Jigdral Yeshe Dorje, to you I pray. Happy with little, content and rich in jewels of the 3 trainings, with loving compassion, seeing all beings as parents. Through threefold realization, you made 3 doors, 3 vajras, virtuous monk, Pema Sultram, to you I pray. The supreme tradition of the glorious Buddha Padmasambhava, which is the essential, extraordinary view and doctrine of the early translation school, and keep alive and spread by the light of wisdom. Lord of Dharma, great Khenpo, I pray at your lotus feet. In the palace of the Ogmen Dharmadhatu, the essence of all the Buddhas of the three times, the one who shows clearly the Dharmakaya of my own mind, we pray to the Honorable Root Guru, glorious root teacher, precious one, dwelling on the lotus seat on the crown of my head. Hold me with your great kindness and bestow the accomplishments of body, speech, and mind. So here we'll go to page 76 in this version of the sadhana. This one that we have the handout one. 76, we'll recite the Vajrasattva mantra 3 times. This is all creating kind of auspicious conditions, so the result of kind of really directly realizing these teachings is so easy. So this is just kind of like tilling the soil and getting all the things, non-tilling the soil, whatever you want. We're preparing the conditions so this bodhicitta just shines on. This Vajrasattva mantra 3 times. Chom dende pa doje sambala shanzalo. Homage to the Tathagata, glorious Vajrasattva. Om Bedra Sava Samaya Manu Palaya Bedra Sava Tenu Pajiju Dunu Mibawa Tsudu Gayu Mibawa Tsugu Jayu Mibawa Nuradu Mibawa Tiri Miprayata Tawa Kama Tsuzame Taram Jiyam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Zawa Tada Gata Benza Mame Menza Bawama Samaya Satu Ha Bedra Sava Samaya Manu Balaya Bedra Sava Tenu Pa Tenu Mibawa Tsudu Gayu Mibawa Tsubu Jayu Mibawa Nuradu Mibawa Zawa Tiri Miprayata Zawa Kama Tsuzame Jiyam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Zawa Tata Gata Benza Mame Menza Bindri Bawa Maha Samaya Sadhu Om Bedra Zawa Samaya Manu Balaya Bedra Zawa Tenu Pa Mibawa Tsudu Gayu Mibawa Tsugu Jayu Mibawa Anuradu Mibawa Zawa Tiri Miprayata Zawa Kama Tsuzame Tsurum Jiyam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Zawa Tara Gata Benza Mame Menza Bindri Bawa Maha Samaya Sadhu Om Bedra Sava Hong 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 Om Bedra Sava Hong. Now going back to page 24 and 25, we're doing a brief mandala offering and then requesting teachings. Basically, the mandala offering is offering everything perfect and wonderful in the world, like everything wonderful that we love and cherish and perfectly arrayed. We're basically honoring the Dharma. How reality is when it's all elegantly, naturally, harmoniously like together. This is Dharma. So we're like honoring this. The harmony in ourselves, harmony in our relationships, harmony in the worlds we're a part of. Like this is like we're really celebrating this and just genuinely being grateful for this. And then the requesting the teachings, that's just like we're really genuinely just in a humble, clear way being like Dharma is so special. Like it's the nature of how things are. It's the nature of how I am. I'm really interested in this nature that I'll maybe be free from suffering. So we're really like trying to like celebrate this nature and like make ourselves kind of receptive to this kind of like just spontaneously being a harmonious, loving, kind of intelligent being. So I'm speaking really kind of like to the point, a little more essential style. But here, we'll just recite this mandala offering and requested teachings. Let's together. The earth anointed with perfumed water and strewn with flowers, Mount Meru and the 4 continents ornamented with sun and moon, by offering them visualized as a Buddha field, may all sentient beings enjoy the pure land. Idam Guru Ratnam Mandala Kam Niryatayami. According to the wishes of sentient beings and their capacities, for the high and low, common and uncommon vehicles, please turn the wheel of Dharma. Thank you, friends. Lovely to be together. So we're talking about the awakening fearless love in the Bardos of life, death, and rebirth. So this topic of the Bardos was so kind of intimately, intricately kind of taught and shared by the Buddha and Guru Rinpoche and so many masters, like, for example, the Churtan Karma Lingpa. It's a vast topic, and we're only going to get a tiny little taste. But it's going to try to be authentic taste. The way the lineage of Tibetan Buddhists has like held it and opened it and explored this is we're trying to follow in the footsteps of Guru Padmasambhava and the Buddha. So that's what we're doing here. And even just a vast taste when it's actually a superfood, really reliable, actually authentic, high quality moment of impact, this can be tremendously beneficial for ourselves and for others for the whole course of our life. This is really a big way we need to approach our own practice and our own kind of study of Dharma. We need to be available for the possibility that a moment of Dharma, a moment of practice, a moment of meditation, a moment of studying something and really being with the teaching like everything's impermanent, that moment can completely radically change everything for us for the better. That's how this happens for beings. This path is a succession of insights that just like radically open our hearts and like amazingly clarify our awareness. And it's tiny little insights and it's big threshold kind of like way leaping past kind of insights. But that's how this path is. And we need to like confidently be available for that possibility. Like maybe it's true that my nature is enlightened. Maybe it's true that the Bardo is like not even happening. Maybe it's true that like I can be loving to someone who's like just super mean to me. Like this is like a confidence kind of poised way of being. Or like just to allow ourselves to the possibility of maybe, what if, just suspend disbelief, have this deep courage, right? This is much more Vajrayana view, this bravery. Like I have this nature, this essential goodness nature. Call it Buddha nature, Sugata Garbha, Tathagata Garbha, call it original mind, call it the great simplicity, call it whatever we want that makes us feel okay. I have this nature, and it is intelligent, it is loving, it is completely capable. And just like to let that confidence be there for a minute, for a moment. This really is like, if we practice this way, our practice will easily go on track. We'll get so much benefit, so much realization. So anyway, I'm just offering that warm invitation to allow yourself the possibility that maybe your life can change like radically for the better in a very short period of time, to really genuinely surrender or connect with the Dharma, connect with bodhicitta. That's a very possible thing. So opening that, which means to say, even 10 minutes of talking about something as intricate and exquisite as Dharma, as the Bardos, even if we do it for one moment, really deeply, really richly, really authentically, this can be one of the best days we've ever had. It's just how it is. You never know what's going to be the big moment day. And then hopefully then tomorrow will be another. I mean, that's what these great beings who are constantly in delight. They're just, every day is an amazing day for them. Why? Because they have this courage turned on. They have this intelligence turned on. This bodhicitta is turned on. So everything is a miraculous, wonderful thing they're grateful for. Like how amazing. This all keeps happening. This is all about how we poise our mind, how we open our heart. Now we're in information age overflow. The tendency to just want more data, want more information, I think it's becoming clearer and clearer. It's not only a question of having more data. It's how are we with the experience? How am I poised to be with this experience? Very much directly about our mind and our heart. Not just the next hack that's going to radically upgrade my life or something. This is not a technique. This is a view. This is a worldview. In Buddhism, the view makes all the difference. Is this a sacred world going through pains of not seeing itself clearly? Or is this like a hellish prison that's just like vilely like vomiting itself and like just like hurting itself? Those are very different views. Is this nirvana? Is this samsara? Does it really change like what teachings were available for, how we're going to interpret something like the Bardos? So I'm jumping into Tibetan Buddhist Vajrayana view here. From this view, the Bardo is defined as the in-between. There's Rigpa wisdom mind now. There's totally deathless awareness. And then I don't see it. That's the beginning of Bardo. And that in-between lasts next once. Oh, I see it again. Oh, deathless wisdom is on again. Bardo is over. The Bardo is, but the moment between, it's the gap between being in wisdom, then I don't see it, then I see wisdom again. That's called Bardo. The in-between are true nature. There is true nature. And then I'm confused and I don't see it. That's the beginning of Bardo, everything. And then something happens and, oh, wow, I see the nature again. Bardo is over. Okay? So the Tibetan Buddhist view, this is the Tibetan Buddhist view of Bardo. The given reality is wisdom awareness. Not seeing that is called distraction or Bardo. Okay, so this is more essential, like Tibetan Buddhist view of what Bardo is. Okay, so we have 30 minutes to get real super pithy to try to give some things that maybe you can use for the next whatever, how many years our lives. And I'm just like trying to pop in some really highlight superfood points, okay? So what is this Bardo? This in-between. When I'm in wisdom, there's no Bardo. And then I get confused and ignorant, Bardo starts. And then I'm in a array of infinite 6 realms of Bardo activity. All this samsara suffering, entangled, confused activity. That's all the variety of Bardo that exists. And then I wake up again and the Bardo instantly is over. It was just a dream. Mistaken, illusory, fixated, unrealistic, not ever happening dream. Total fabricated hallucination. Samsara, all that was a mistaken view. Just wasn't seeing clearly. And because the view is like that, my body got like that, and my relationships got like that, and I got like this, and it all became samsara. Called Bardo. It's all Bardo. And so what we're doing here is to recognize what are these ways that we contract. The ways samsara happens, there's called 6 Bardos. Bardo of life. I don't see things clearly. Boom, birth. The birth of my sentient being, mistaken experience. Okay? That's life. Birth into life. Life has 2 sub-Bardos, 2 subdivisions. Bardo of meditation, Bardo of dreaming. So now we got 3 Bardos. In the Bardo of life, I can be dreaming. That's the second one. I can be meditating. That's the third one. Okay? So then all of a sudden I contract something, some kind of something happens where all of a sudden my life is definitely going to end. Some terminal disease, get hit by a car, can be slow or sudden. Something happens where that life is going to wrap up. That's called Bardo of dying. So from the Bardo of dying to the moment of death, where I'm literally my body, my mind, they separate. I'm clinically dead. That's called Bardo of dying and death. That's the 4th Bardo. This is all assuming a sentient being who's happening. This is all in samsara mode, okay? When I'm not in wisdom, I'm in samsara. Samsara mode happened. That's called birth and life Bardo. Then as samsara being, I can have dreams. I can do my meditation. That's a Bardo of meditation, and Bardo of dreaming. And then, I get some sickness. I get something, I can't stop it. Now I'm going to die. That's called the end of Bardo of life, the beginning of Bardo of dying and death. And to that point, I clinically die. Done. This life is not going to be, this body not going to be revived. At that point, it's called Bardo of true nature and luminosity. That lasts for a certain period of time. And if that's called true nature, that's when it's all wisdom awareness happening now. No habitual patterns, no mistaken perceptions. This is the wisdom reality is laid bare. And if I'm not familiar with that, not comfortable with that, and I shut down to that, and I say, no, what's really real is samsara, What's really real is I was this, and my name is Drakpa, and I have this place, and this is my stuff, and this is my family. That's the really real stuff. Then that Bardo of true nature and luminosity closes, and then opens the Bardo of becoming. Where am I going now? Bardo of becoming. This mind has this impelling momentum, this continuity of awareness, and it wants a new body based on whatever habits seem to be happening in my dream space of my mind. And from that moment of like, I don't recognize my true nature of love, compassion, and wisdom, then the Bardo of true nature and luminosity. I don't recognize that, it closes, and all of a sudden I start to wonder to get another embodiment to like, I want to continue this samsaric thing of me, and like I'm in a world, and I have things I'm doing that I like, and I'm avoiding the bad stuff. That's called Bardo of becoming, until, boom, I make contact with like whatever the causes and conditions are kind of like enough for my mind, wandering mind, to get another body that can be like, human body, like sperm and egg. It could be miraculous body, like it can be hell being body, it can be a God realm body. There's different ways to be born. It can be like some wetness in a petri dish, and there's like a, then my mind can be in that kind of body. Boom, Bardo of life starts. And now I'm back in the cycle. Now it's Bardo of life again. Birth, living, and with a new body. Same mind, new body. And that's the sixth Bardo. So we went from Bardo of life, which has dreams and meditation, to Bardo of dying. Then I die. Then there's the opportunity of like non-samsaric awareness. That's called Bardo of true nature, with its display, its natural, pure, relative display. If I don't see that, it closes. Then Bardo of becoming, my wandering mind wants a new body, until my mind links up with body components. They lock in. Wah, happy birthday me. New body, new life. That's called next, keeps going. If I really believe in samsara and its cycling, which I do, and the sentient being thing is what's really real, and wisdom is like a maybe thing, if I really believe that, this cycle of birth, old age, sickness, death, true nature, don't see it, go, birth, old age, sickness, death, true nature, don't see it, birth, old age. Been doing that for infinite time, since beginningless time. Almost every permutation of an embodied being, I've been it. The Buddha taught we've all done it. And you know why? We just don't remember it. Like, try to remember like the first 7 years of your life in this life as a little baby. What would it be like to like remember the trauma of like knowing what it was like to be like come through the birth canal, and like you're just sitting there, you can't even hold yourself. Like, it's interesting how our mind like becomes unconscious about stuff that it can't deal with. Like, or it's not interested in, it just didn't show up on a radar. Like, just think about all of a sudden you recollect the last 1,000 lives you had. Like, that would be some serious trauma, very capital T trauma. We would freak out. Too much Bardo. So what this path is we're trying to have awareness, wisdom, this compassion, wisdom, so vast that we can actually entertain and be with all these currents of connection, all these moments of life we've been in this life, the meals we've had, the clothes we've had, the friends we had, all the hardships, all the celebrations, the fullness of just practical, materialist, scientific, like the stuff we've been through that like a scientist would say, yes, this happened to you. Just the fullness of that, we're trying to be with it and be chill, loving, compassion, wise, be in wisdom, and be with that much relationality. That's called, we're trying to practice to be bodhisattvas. The fullness doesn't overwhelm us, so we shut down and faint and forget. Instead, we can wake up and show up and get tender and brave, and we can be with it, and we can love it, and we can grieve with it, and we can like breathe with it, and we can just be in relational exchange, interdependence with ourselves and others and worlds and all that in a relaxed way as they move and change and grow in ways that we don't control at all. We're just a part of this big flowing thing, and our awareness is just kind of moving around in it. So that's the obstacle course of 6 Bardos. Is that framing kind of clear enough as a general idea of what these Bardos are? I'm not saying you have to believe it. I'm just repeating some teachings that are really the Buddha said, like the Guru Rinpoche said, these great church said. So, yeah, good.
So just, you know how there's the descriptions of the Bardo,
Yeah.
of all these appearances
Yeah.
that the beings kind of like flailing around in. So like most beings don't recognize those appearances as nature.
Okay.
Right? That's correct.
Like what's an example of an appearance that you're talking about?
Well, like in the teachings, it will say it's like, you know, all these dakinis that show up, and this
Great.
is, or like this Buddha, or these.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that sometimes it says like you won't notice them at all.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's like, oh, you'll see them as a terrifying thing.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
So if
Totally.
a being goes that more typical route to where they don't recognize the appearances in the
Totally.
Bardo, does that mean that the Bardo of luminosity is just like that instant after death before they start reacting to all the appearances? Or are all of those appearances still Bardo of true light until they actually grab something? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sort of seems like they're grabbing and
Yep.
reacting most
Yep.
beings like the whole time.
The whole
in those
time.
Descriptions, which
Yep.
means then it's all becoming.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's all fascinating because like how we approach the Bardos, it really shifts. That's why it's like a very difficult topic, because like how we're looking at the Bardos really changes like what we experience with them. So in the Tibetan Buddhist framing, there's no such thing as a Bardo, right? It's only wisdom. So that's the first thing. And wisdom always has an expressive quality. It's called pure relative truth. That's why they say pure body, pure speech, pure mind, or pure world, pure other, pure self. That's a deity. Deities are connections, the sounds, the relationships. That's called mantra. Dharmakaya is the space, or the mandala, the dhatu, the space, the world we're in. This is all pure body, pure speech, pure mind. That's actually what's really real in Tibetan Buddhist view. So in that context, all this Bardo stuff never even happens, right? But we can flash back into that for a moment, and the Bardos kind of dissolve, and like we wake up and we're like, oh, that was like not really true. So we can do that in a dream. That's why in a dream Bardo, there's like karmic dreams, which we're totally lost in the fiction of our own storytelling, samsara madness. Or there's wisdom dreams, where we're like in wisdom awareness, and we're in a dreaming, more subtle, interactive space, and it's actually not a Bardo. It's actually wisdom, intelligence happening on this more subtle connective layer. So like in that case, is the dream experience wisdom, or is it Bardo, or is it kind of a mix? Like then it gets really specific with like what is happening with the certain being and the specific thing. But anytime we grab and lock into this is what's really real, that's Bardo.
Okay.
So like anytime we fail to recognize the empty, fluid, dynamic, open, like ever-flowing nature of reality called interdependence, anytime we fail to recognize that, that's Bardo. It's Bardo experience, whether we're dreaming, dying, sleeping, meditating. If we're meditating and I'm like, I feel good, this feels so good, I'm so glad, I'm like feel so restful and all that, that's all just karmic Bardo. That's not what we're trying to do with meditation. That's just called distraction, actually. But it's like, could be a helpful distraction. So like I'm more relaxed than I was before I started meditating. And so it's like easier to then be like, oh, meditation just means being natural. I'm not trying to hold a thing and only prefer these appearances and not those appearances. Actually allowing all the appearances. Oh, this is happy, this is heavy, this is itchy, this is scary, and just trying to be with it and not hold. Not trying to stop the appearances and say I only want these and not those. Trying to be with all of them. And so that's like this key point of all these Bardo teachings is this is all our own projection. And if the projection is right on and accurate, that's called wisdom display. And if that projection is super muddled and murky and confused, that's the 6 realms of samsaric being and embodiment. And there's really dense versions where it's like a human body that keeps seeming to really cohere again and again and again and again. There's a beating heart and all that. That's still just like karmic vision, grabbing onto the certain set of habitual appearances that are just my projection. It's just my mind. So this is like heavy Buddhist philosophy, but this is also like assumed in these Bardo teachings. This is all only one's own awareness. Outside, inside, in between, it's all awareness. And there's awareness when it knows itself and it allows its creative, natural intelligence to shine. That's called pure vision or bodhicitta. And then there's awareness when it doesn't see itself and it's ignorant, and then it locks into like pushing that stuff away and grabbing the stuff I want. That's called aversion or anger, attachment, or like kind of obsession. And then there's the ignorance. It's not knowing that's like, this is all my awareness. Like, and so that's called karmic vision or impure relative pure truth, impure body, impure speech, impure mind. And that's when it's like little old me in a big world that's like, I like some parts of it and I don't like some parts, and I have some friends and enemies and strangers. And like, that's the tumult of samsaric grabbing onto stuff and locking into things, and then it moves, and then I get stretched, and then it all hurts, and that's just comes from samsara. And then the body eventually doesn't have the energy or the coherence to keep holding itself together, and then that physical body dissolves. But the physical body was actually just this set of like karmic habitual patterning to like the mind being holding itself in every second. It keeps grooving itself into this certain neural pattern or whatever, firing however we choose to lens it. Like it keeps holding itself in this very specific contracted way as like a me in this body, in this room, with these sense doors. Like that's all, from these level of teachings, all habitual patterns of mind that keep cohering. And that's straight up sutra mind-only school. That's not tantra anything. That's just mind-only school sutra, which is super deep and profound. I mean, super deep and profound, right? It's all just mind. Yeah. That's like I'm laying some things without having laid out a lot of other things. So now it's kind of splashy, like that response.
Well, it's not. It's just, that in those teachings, they talk about all these different times where if you can gain awareness, you can become enlightened, right?
Okay.
And so I'm kind of like, but most beings, I don't know, and maybe that is the thing, it's like I'm getting too, like, graspy about, like, a thing that's not really graspable, but I'm like, if you're reacting, then you're rejecting and grabbing.
Yeah.
And if you don't see, then it seems like you're no longer in luminosity, the Bardo.
Yeah.
That luminosity.
True nature Bardo, yeah. Luminous true nature Bardo, yeah.
So that could be like a moment.
Could be a total moment, yeah.
And then that they may not see.
Yep. So I'll lay out a little bit of detail of each of these Bardos, and then we can like address this question like with a little more granularity that makes more sense. We'll have like a little more scaffolding to like kind of address it properly. Again, these are very broad strokes, okay? So we're born, we grow up, and this is all like I'm human being experience framing, okay? Human sense doors with this color spectrum and this sound spectrum, and this, I have 2 arms and not 8 octopus arms, and it makes a difference what embodiment I'm on with like how the Buddha would teach that being. Because if a Buddha talks to squirrels a bunch as a human being, the squirrels run, like you've got to talk as a squirrel would understand it. This is all assuming human stuff for these teachings, right? Not as if that's the only way the Buddha could teach, but for us as humans, human identified beings, what helps us. So we're born, Bardo of life. And then in that, there's dreams when like basically our physical aggregates get tired for various reasons, chemical, hormonal, all the stuff. We have to fall asleep. We fall asleep. And then basically our patterns turn on again, but they're more subtle. These sense doors turn on because this sense consciousness is still grasping after stuff. And then it like has all these habits, so then it has all this patterned activity that I seem like I have a body, and I meet some people I know, and there's like language, and it seems to like have coherence, and I'm like, it's not all total random chaos. It's like it has patterned stuff. It's just like based on negative habitual patterns usually. So that's all dream. So that's a dream Bardo. And so then if we're dream Bardo, we're trying to actually recognize like in all these, this is my awareness, connect with bodhicitta, love, compassion, and wisdom. and like recognize the dream-like quality of whether I'm actually sleeping having a dream or I'm awake and like having a dream-like kind of experience now, like an waking state dream. Either way, we're trying to like have bodhicitta and this wisdom saturate the experience. And then there's all kinds of techniques or supportive secondary conditions as to like how I can be more wakeful, like in a sleeping dream. Like how do I lie down when I go to sleep? Like what do I eat? When do I stop eating? Is there a visualization practice that'll help orient that? You can turn on a certain motivation before you sleep, like you're trying to do a specific thing in a dream. Like all these secondary conditions called practices or techniques, so that when I do fall asleep, when my body gets tired, I can use it for wisdom, intelligence, or bodhicitta, and not just the usual karmic thing that happens when I don't set up conditions and I'm just going with the flow of my negative habitual patterns and just another night of dreaming random shit, like, and just whatever it happened to be, you know? And then I wake up and it's like, oh, that was a dream, whatever. So Buddhism's trying to use all the moments of experience for wisdom and wakefulness, for really good connection and loving interaction and intelligence. So that's just to say, there's a ton of dream yoga techniques to use the dream bardo as a practice, as a path for more wisdom and compassion. And so that is an entire corpus of teachings. There's a ton of dream yoga stuff. This is called six yogas of Naropa is one example of these yogas. Dream yoga is one of them. Bardo teachings is another one of them. These are all big sets of teachings. So then real quick, meditation. So meditation is typically like that's dhyana bardo, or meditating. So in the sense of these teachings, meditating, I'm like holding something, meaning my awareness is trying to hold itself put somehow. That's usually called calmly abiding, calm holding. I lock in and like look at my breath and stay with it. I hold it on an object and I'm just trying to calm the monkey mind. Instead of jump, 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 I'm holding it so it can just like be in a flow. It's called concentration or shamatha, or calmly abiding or calm holding. And then the second part of meditation is I release the holding and just let my calm awareness fluidly, flexibly, brilliantly do whatever it does. Because its nature is already intelligent. I don't have to hold it to make it intelligent. It is intelligent. I have to relax and recognize its intelligent capacity. And that's called insight or vipassana or supreme seeing, a way of being that's not being corralled at all. It's naturally flowing as it would if I just let it flow and like have it on. That's called shamatha or shamatha and vipassana together. This is all meditation bardo. And so there's the karmic way to do this, which is like I am trying to get this from my meditation practice, and now this is Rigpa, and now I'm getting better, and now my path is, that's all like samsaric holding stuff of basically I believe that I'm bad and broken and stupid. I'm a samsara being. And I'm trying to get not stupid, trying to get free. That's all karmic vision. That's all called bardo stuff. As opposed to recognize you're free. That's this true nature of reality bardo, which can turn on any moment. Recognize you're already free. And then the bardo dissolves instantly in as long as we're with that recognition that there's no such thing as the in-between time of Rigpa, not Rigpa, Rigpa. Because we're in Rigpa or wisdom, and once we're in wisdom, we can see all the confused ways were just mistakes we made that we aren't currently making, because we're in wisdom. And then we lose it, and then a mistaken thing, and the whole thing starts again, the whole scene of mistaken vision of worlds and dreams and hopes and all this stuff. So that's like a little bit of the bardo of meditation. Super teeny touch. I know Marie had a question, and also Philip. And yeah, great. Do you either win?
Okay, so I'm just a little confused. We've got in this life, before I die, I've got the bardo of meditation. Describe that. Bardo of dreams.
Yeah.
What are we doing? What about this bardo? I'm not dreaming. I'm not meditating. What is this one called?
Bardo of life.
Okay.
Bardo of birth and life.
Okay.
Where we're basically just like, if we're in samsaric vision and we're not practicing anything, we're not trying to bring on bodhicitta and do love and compassion, we're basically just like using our karmic. we're using our merit randomly.
The Sidpa, Bardo, and
The Sipa Bardo is Bardo of becoming. That's after we've died, and it's just our awareness projecting itself, and it hasn't yet locked into a new body or embodiment,
okay, so
like a human baby.
during death. Okay.
That's the after death Bardo, is the Sipa Bardo of becoming.
So this one is not, us sitting here is not Bardo of becoming.
It's not. It's the Bardo of life and
Bardo of
living.
life.
Yeah.
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 You know what the Tibetan.
I have it. This book, which we have copies of, Rinpoche, like they did a 6 Bardo book. This is like total gold. Like this essential journey of life and death, indestructible nature of body, speech, and mind. This goes through these 6 Bardos very extensively, including having the Tibetan words for each of them, which I'm going to open up because I just forget it. Like Tibetan. I'll get this Tibetan word here.
Is this one based on a root text?
Karma Lingpa.
It is.
Karma Lingpa is like Bardo Todro.
I know that there's a 4-fold Bardo approach and there's a 6-fold.
6-fold is the 4-fold is when you have just life and you don't highlight dream and meditation. So that's a Bardo of life,
Okay.
dying, true nature, becoming. That's 4. But when you subdivide life into also dreaming, the 5th, and meditating, the 6th, it's just highlighting those subdivisions in the life Bardo.
So the 4-fold one, is that still Karma Lingpa?
Yeah, same.
Okay.
And so in this, like page 87 in this book, the Bardo of birth and life is called Shine Bardo. Shine. Bardo of dream state is Milam. Bardo of meditation is Samten. Bardo of dying is Chike. Bardo of true nature, luminosity of the true nature is Chuni. Bardo of becoming is Sipa.
Are you selling this book?
Yeah, it's right on the table back there. Yeah, this book, I mean, this is like such a good book. Like this is like, that's why these Bardo teachings are kind of lovely in a way, is because they, like, we're all gonna die. And like, this is like a preview of the obstacle course. And it's also showing us like what we're doing now and how we can prepare, like how we can enjoy now better, living. And like by enjoying now better, we'll totally like make all the dying process and the dead and the next life so much easier and enjoyable as well. So it's just this practice manual of instructions, both really pointy, pithy stuff and really extensive, nuanced, texturized stuff. So that go through all these dream practices, all these meditation practices, all these after death practices. There's like extensive details on how to really train in that now, so that when we're in it, it's easy to do because we'll already have that habit and we'll already have some familiarity with how our mind is when we're in that way of our mind holding itself. The dream way our mind holds itself, or the meditative way our mind holds itself. Then we'll already have some like kind of preview or like a little bit of a flexibility and like a familiarity with being that way. So, Marie, did you have a question, or do you want to come back to it?
I do have a question. All the things you're saying, I think, of course, they're correct, and I totally get it. There's one issue I have.
Okay.
As you get older, you start running into friends who have like diseases where they're in terrible, terrible pain.
Yeah.
Or they get dementia.
Yeah.
Or Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Even Dharma practitioners.
Yeah.
I wondered, if you know of any techniques or tricks in the Dharma for dealing with that.
Old age, sickness, death?
For oneself or for others.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you say? What do you do?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's great. Thanks, Marie. This is like all this practical application of like what do we actually do with this stuff. Like here I'm just giving a really general framing so far. And then there's like what can you do? And always like in that book, and then this is like a stack of Bardo books. Like these are like 4 amongst like 100. There's like so many. This is only English. There's so many. This one, Preparing to Die, Andrew Holacek, has a whole 3rd section that's just advice from these great masters on how do you prepare to die, how do you use when you're dead, how do you use after you're dead. And all these, some 20 or so masters are just like, they just answer those 3 questions. And it's like 25 pages of just their pith instructions on what do you do when you're about to die, when you're dead, when you're after dead. Like And so there's a ton, like this is like one of the big topics of life, because like it's birth, old age, sickness, death, rebirth. I mean, it's the set of things we're in. So what do you do? And a lot of these masters say here, and Venerable Khenpo Rinpoche say here, is you meet the person where they're at. They're Christian, you do the Christian thing. If they're Buddhist, chameleon, shapeshift into Buddhist stuff. They're a non-believer of anything, they're just super science, you do that. And you encourage like the goodness they have. We all have goodness. You celebrate the kindness, you celebrate the victories, the wonderful things, the lovely things, the like important special things. And you keep it simple. It depends, like there's a lot of nuance here. If someone has dementia, you interact one way. If someone doesn't have dementia, you interact another way. It's like gets really specific with what is the actual context of the person you're with and where you're at.
Did anybody write about that where I can read about that?
This book,
No,
Pema Chodron's book.
I mean, in terms of people who have dementia or agony, so much pain.
Yeah.
Is there anything specifically written on that?
I'm sure there is at this point, and a lot of Western medical Dharma people too. I know this Dzogchen Khenchen Rinpoche, he has a book, Living is Dying. This goes into like really specific medical questions and like a lot of Dzogchen Khenchen Rinpoche. There's so many Bardo books like about this. I know Sanjay Khandro has Bardo advice. I mean, Trungpa Rinpoche has 6 Bardo advice called Transcending Madness. All the Tibetan, there's so many Tibetan root texts that have all this in Tibetan. There's just so much. I don't know. It's like with dementia, like that's like a really specific case, right? And it's just like, how do you be with a person when basically they're in like an hourglass of sand that's like it's constantly dissolving itself? And it depends, like what are their threads for that person? Are they usually happier, usually angry, usually scared? Do they remember certain themes of their life or a certain range of years still? Or it all gets really specific, but you always show up for that person in the moment as much as you can attune to like what makes them relax and soften. Whatever that is, that's the Bodhisattva practice. We're training so that we can vibe or attune with someone in a way that makes them feel supported and relaxed, so their own true nature, their own goodness, Buddha nature, naturally will start to auto-poetically turn on. We don't have to make them intelligent and kind. They have that already. We're just supporting someone by like as much as we can be with them in a caring, careful way to let that happen and our own self blossom, and then that creates like a good Dharma connection. That's just a harmonious relationship, right? We call it Dharma or use a non-Dharma word, it doesn't matter. But then it's all in the details with that, with a specific sickness and how much medicine and what's the medicine do and what are the side effects. And there's a lot of nitty-gritty details that the details really matter with that stuff. It's like, I can only say some general stuff unless we really get into the weeds of a specific person.
That book. I'll get hold of it.
Yeah, but in general, it's bodhicitta. That's the general main point. To like super generalize, there is, in terms of Buddhism, like super generalized, you can take it and remember it. There's a deathless nature, and there's a process of impermanence, and they're both always happening. Those are 2 big things you can always remember in any Buddhist thing. There's always the deathless, unborn, unchanging, post-conceptual side called absolute. And there's the relative, expressive, interactive, interdependent, dynamic side, which is impermanent. Deathless and impermanent. Relative and absolute. They're always both part of anything that's happening. And so any technique, any view is going to have to care for both these sides. And if we only care for one side or at the expense of the other, then we go to extremes. We're fixating on half or a part of a whole. That's called an extreme position. We're walling something and acting like we didn't do the walling. It was just that. That's how reality is. No, we just built that wall, and we just left out a bunch of stuff that we're not paying attention to now. That's called extreme view. Always relative and absolute. aspects together. So there's a deathless, and there's techniques that help us recognize and relax in the deathless, open, spacious awareness called absolute bodhicitta. And then there's the relational, interactive, interdependent, just all the relative bodhicitta stuff of being a loving, compassionate, kind, intelligent participant of a dance that we're in, that like it moves, and so we have ups and downs, and it's impermanent. Both sides are always true. So there's going to be techniques that care for the relative side and the absolute side that make us have healthy, dynamic stuff and help us relax and recognize the totally not changing side. The main point here is we need to recognize the deathless part, or else we're constantly going to be in the trauma, the dynamic ups and downs of the interdependent, impermanent part. That's all we'll know. And so it's always going to be up, down, gather, disperse, build, break. That's all we're going to believe in. So we need to recognize the deathless part. That's the absolute or the true nature samadhi, the true nature Bardo, or Rigpa, wisdom awareness. That's half. And then we also, so then there's a second point to remember. So there's a deathless and an interdependent, relative and absolute. Always both. For every Buddhist answer, for every Buddhist technique, for every Buddhist anything. Always both. The second thing is, how am I approaching this? Am I using these techniques and these teachings and this Bardo stuff to get free? That's one. Am I using it to get free, or am I already free and I'm using the techniques and stuff to more fully connect? That's a very different way. One is it's all about my liberation, self-liberation. Two is about other liberation, others, connecting with others, because I'm already free. So that's self and other liberation. These are two ways to approach Dharma. I'm getting all this stuff so I can have a good retreat, or I'm like in a way where I'm like pretty in the deathless nature, open, love is flowing, and all these paths and connections and techniques are more about like, how can I better show up for others? Both of these are true. And it makes a big difference with how we're going to interpret Dharma. We need to get free, because if I'm drowning, I can't help much. Put the oxygen mask on in a plane first, because if I'm suffocating, I can't do anything in a plane when it's going down. Don't drown first. That means get some flexible, actual, on-the-spot recognition of what's deathless. And then from that deathless, open, freedom position, I literally shape my body, my connections, my relationality into the world that is the world that someone else is coming from. They create the world and I inhabit their worlding based on how well I can do that. That's called Bodhisattva. And everyone's worlding a different world. Your habits, language, history, background, intelligence, techniques. So there's all this multifold of worldings, and there's human versions of it, and there's animal versions of it. That's why this is a very big set of teachings called Bardos. A lot of interactive layers going on here. The first thing is recognize what is not changing. Doesn't matter what world, what body, what language, what culture, what society, what is always the same. And it can get all into language games, the same, not different, not one, not many. The point is, am I in a poised way of being that regardless of what experience happens, I still see the common continuous thread. It's called Tantra, continuity. The continuous thread of wisdom awareness is still there. It's called original mind, Rigpa, or Buddha nature. I can still be with the thread, and now that awareness can arise as a nightmare vision. That's called karmic dream. Now it arises as a Pure Land vision. That's called wisdom display. I can be with any of it. That's what these great accomplished beings are able to do. So then they go into the nightmare vision of doom scrolling through news, and they can show up with people with empathy and all that. And they can go with the celebratory, beautiful vision of the pretty samsara thing, and they can also go to the Pure Lands and just be with Buddhas Not like in any kind of samsara game. They're just like the nature of wisdom displays in all these creative ways. So good. Yeah, you got follow up or something?
Yeah. I just wanted to comment for Marie about dealing with encountering people with dementia, which is personal for me too.
Yeah.
But I think that you've given the overview.
Yep.
But just drilling down to the specific, I think a lot of what you encounter is your own expectations being violated, and that as soon as that arises, your mindfulness, your attention should be on the actual person, so rather than what they don't have anymore.
Yeah.
It's recognizing what's there.
That's a very good
recognizing
point.
the difference between that and your expectation of, oh, you used to know this, but you don't, avoiding that, sort of going right into the, it's kind of almost the opposite of Bardo, but maybe it is exactly what, I'm sure it is what Dragpa's talking about, as, the enlightened one instead of the distraction. But in any case, it's a matter of paying attention to what's actually there, and also dropping your own attachment to your expectation.
That's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other thing I was thinking when you were talking about Marie's thing was like, to be a bodhisattva, it's also like you can't save them. It's like you can't save them, right? If somebody is in their realm, they're in a lot of pain and confusion. I think sometimes the reason we start to struggle is because we can't save them. So it's that sense of like, can you show up however they need, even if it's like very distressing to just sit with their pain, but at least then they're not alone with their pain.
It's an important thing to think about.
I think that's what's hard too.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what's the, from a point of view of Buddhism, how does memory be understood? And then another question is, I know there were two kind of truths in Buddhism, conventional truth and ultimate truth.
Yeah.
So how would this relate to Bardo? Because I don't know so much about Bardo. Today is the first time that I heard, know like from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to. Yeah, the first question is about memory.
Memory, and then like conventional and ultimate truth. Yeah, they're both very amazing, great questions, super deep, very profound. So memory is like, I like, again, so much of this is on my side general. It's like, memory is like, how much of the interactions that I've been a part of, like how much can I bring them as like actively in touch with them. So in all ways, an answer in Bodhisattva style is like in a way that's helpful. Because I could, like, if I can recite to you like every meal I've ever eaten right now because I have a good memory around like eating food, like if it's not helpful, there's like no point in sharing it. Like it actually has to be helpful, like in a Bodhisattva context, right? So, but having good memory is like basically being able to, like, it's like a GPS. You can like zoom into an exact spot in a world with the exact kind of detail you're looking for, what kind of map, the exact thing, but you do that also with time. So like you zoom in on a planet, Google Maps or whatever, you zoom into the spot, but in the year, in the day, in the moment, in the whatever, that whoever you're with, or if it's just memory that you're actually helping yourself to, that's the most helpful, like detail, granularity, like basically theme of a giant symphony that you're a part of. Like you can pull the thread of the specific song that's the right fit for whatever you're doing. Like that's when memory would be helpful. And like the degree to which we can't do that is just kind of a vague feeling, an intuitive something. That can be helpful too, But like in terms of a Buddhist path, we're trying to get the granular, like actually feel the specific relational interdependent like point, the exact dot. That's what the Bodhisattva levels or bhumis, the layers, that's what they're trying to do. Be in deathless wisdom, open awareness, but then have a greater field of interdependence that they can zoom into exactly. So each bhumi is like more relationality that they can tune into accurately. Now, 1,000 lives in the past, for 1,000 more beings, and 18 more abilities. Like all it is they're getting a bigger body of cause, condition, and effect. And they can exactly tune into which layer, which muscle fiber of the body that's the most helpful one to be with right now. They're both, that's empty, this part's empty, that part's empty, the present's empty, the past is empty, all is empty. They recognize that first bhumi. It's all open, same deathless nature. But then that's when the detail matters. Like what spot for this being, and that's memory. You can think of it as memory, but you can also think of it as lived ability to just zoom into the actual connective feature of cause, condition, and effect. Doesn't have to be your personal memory for these great, really great enlightened masters. They can zoom into someone else's memory because it's part of a relational field that they share with them. Because there's no big separate block on any of the knowledge that's shared in reality. It's a question of our ability to tune into the specific thread. We tend to be like actually hyper, like always attending to like my experience, my story, my unfolded part. And part of the like lessening the self-centeredness of like renunciation, that's like foundational Buddhist stuff, is actually we become other-centered too. And we start to be able to breathe with the relational field or body or worlding of other beings more. It's like it becomes a shared body, a shared database, a shared collective set of cause, condition, effect, shared memory. So this is like intergenerational and interspecies and it gets big. In the sutras it's vast, in the tantras it's more vast. And then in terms of conventional and ultimate truths, like it's related to like this very approximate kind of thing I'm saying. The ultimate is the deathless or the unborn, unceasing, unborn by nature like the sky. This is all pointed out in the second turning teachings of the Heart Sutra as like a quintessential text the Buddha taught via his wisdom awareness through the Bodhisattva Chenrezig in the Heart Sutra. This is all pointing towards the unpointable, unfindable, the like can't be boxed in any way. No, it doesn't fit in the fold of any logical framing at all or any rational kind of paradigm or any model. Like absolute, keeps going, keeps extending. No model, no framing, no story is big enough to hold the inexhaustible nature of reality. So that's all absolute or ultimate. And conventional or relative is like any model, any frame, any story, any body, any theme, any flavor, any one way of like orienting. That's conventional. And the question is, what's helpful? Again, for the Bodhisattva, it's like what serves. Like, what framing or model is helpful for this? If I'm a scientist looking for chemical composition, I'm not that curious about astrophysics right now. That's how I'm talking about chemistry, you know? But if I'm a good scientist, I'm also going to be curious about astrophysics because there's all kinds of modeling and stuff that is, I'm also a part of that stuff and it's really relevant, just not in the lab today. So we want to be able to juggle as many frames or bodies or models or conventional truths as possible, not because they're all equally real and not because I need to do them all right now with this person I'm with. I need to be specific and this is the medicine for this specific thing right now. A doctor doesn't need to prescribe every single medicine simultaneously. They kill everybody. They need to discern what's the proper medicine for this right now. And that's the Bodhisattva. You can play any game, any model, any body, any worlding, human, non-human, doesn't matter. And then you show up and you're with the thing in a skillful way, not because it's real, but because it's helpful. Real enough given the situation for like what the being believes. If that's with a 5-year-old, like, and you're just like totally going along with the story that Santa Claus is real because it makes the little kid happy, play the game, do the story, enjoy the drama, the show, the movie, talk about sitcoms and stuff with the coworkers if that's like their chill zone. Like, fine, they like to talk about Matisse painting, awesome. Learn about Matisse painting, you know, like conventionally that's skillful. Ultimately, anything is anything is an object of actual interest for someone who's a bodhisattva. Every body is interesting. Every story is interesting. Every set of knowledge is worthy of learning, because someone really cares about that knowledge, and that's a way you can connect with them. And that's the way you can support their own Buddha nature to relax and auto-poetically turn on brighter. There's a lot of different ways to answer that, to like be with it. Yeah, I want to, because our time's getting short already, I want to say a little bit about Bardo of True Nature and a little bit more about Bardo of like Sipa Bardo before we run out of time. Is that okay? And then we can highlight in. So just so I like at least said something about each of the 6. Again, this is obviously this is a vast topic, right? It's like very vast. Bardo of True Nature is like, okay, again, this is like a VHS videotape in high speed forward or whatever. Now it's like you're like at 2 times speed of something you're watching on YouTube or whatever, okay? So, I got whatever, terminal disease. Fuck, you know? I start to break down. I can't do it. I'm getting tired. I can't move. I'm dying. At a certain point, like all this Bardo of dying, there's a lot of teachings on how the dissolution of life is, how dying happens. There's the gross level, the subtle level, and then the moment of death. Gross level is talking about our organ systems. Like, and they talk about this in these teachings, these Bardo teachings, in terms of elements. They say the grossest element dissolves into the more subtle element, into the more subtle element, into the more subtle element, until the gross level of embodiment stops. So it's always going gross to subtle. It can happen differently for different people, but this is the general way it's taught, because it's like in general, the like most percentage of beings do like die like that. So earth to water, water to fire, fire to air, air to space. Gross to subtle. And each of these kind of elements relates to organ systems, and when certain organ systems stop functioning, then we get an inner experience, and then we get a secret experience. This is all Bardo of dying. I'm giving a teeny hint, right? Okay, this is a vast topic. So like when the gross element of earth dissolves, like that's related to a certain chakra or a certain way that our energy and awareness moves in our body. They say the navel goes into the heart goes into the throat goes into the head collapses into the like secret, and then all these outer layer things stop, and basically that correlates to all these organs shutting down. And all the ways that it feels like, oh, now I can't move my body. Oh, now my mouth is super dry. Oh, now I'm like super cold. Oh, now there's like a lot of teachings on what correlates to what. Okay? So if you're interested in this, there's a ton of stuff about it. But we have like 2 minutes to cover this, and it just not available right now. There's a chart in here at the back of this book which correlates outer sign, inner sign, secret sign, organ systems. Like it's all, this has been mapped out in Tibetan Buddhism a lot. So like if you're interested,
What page were you talking about?
in this book, the page is, gross dissolution is page 422. Subtle dissolution is page 424. So I just described the gross dissolution. Earth into water, water to fire, fire to wind, wind to consciousness. So grossest to subtlest. That correlates to emotions. Super dense emotions, and they release, and then it's subtler emotions, and they release, and subtler emotions, and they release until the emotions aren't on. Okay, this is all charted out. So at that point, these gross elements stop, and then Tibetan Buddhism says there's a subtle dissolution. And this is usually talked about in just very like general ways, is like I'm sorry to like just do a hack job and say a bunch of stuff without introducing it properly, but the hack job version is from our father or the male side or whatever for a human, there's like this, a lot of this kind of essence element is held up high in our physical human body. And from the female or the woman, like egg and sperm kind of thing, the female is usually below for a human body. And basically, at first, when this subtle dissolution happens of these energy level, this white descends to the heart. In Buddhism, they say awareness is held in the heart. That's where our mind is. It's not in brain. So basically, it's all, the gross stuff is going in, and then the subtle stuff is also going in. It's all gross to subtle. So this white, kind of this essence element's going into the heart. This feminine red element is going into the heart. And then they merge in the heart, and they kind of contract. And at that point, we like actually clinically die. They call it white decrease, red, white appearance, red increase, black near attainment. And then at that point, the bardo of dying is over. And we are clinically dead and actually dead. So the gross dissolution is just clinical death. The heart stops, the brain's not functioning. Okay, all the organ systems shut, clinical death. A doctor in a ER will be like, they are dead. What's the time? For Tibetan Buddhism, then they say after that, there's still a subtle dissolution of elements. This subtle kind of energy is moving to the heart. Subtle energy is moving from the base up to the heart. They collapse. And at that point, that's actually the moment of death for Buddhists. Even though your brain and your heart are already stopped. It's still the subtle winds or energies are still, the awareness is still riding those subtle winds. And this is talking about karmic winds related to like mom stuff, dad stuff, not our experience, but literally essence elements, like body, subtle energy body elements that like our mind is always with every moment of our like this embodiment. So that collapses. So like white appearance on our inner level, everything looks white. Super milky white, and then the red increase, this certain element, it starts losing its position to be able to hold, and it starts collapsing, and everything gets like red, like crimsony red, they say. And then when they meet in the heart center, which is where our awareness is, like Rigpa or wisdom awareness, they collapse and we faint. They call it black near attainment. It's
What
like
is
it's
it called?
black near attainment.
Black.
Black, like you're aware, but it's like totally black out there. There's no light. It's related to deep dreamless sleep, awareness that has no object. This is all deep stuff. This is all like, it actually correlates amazingly with all these teachings. It's like profound. So at that point, that's when the bardo of dying ends. And literally our mind and this body, the gross body we're in, the subtle body we're in, the gross and subtle bodies stop. And at that point, the mind releases from this body. So that point, it's a bardo of this dying and death. We're dead. That bardo's over. Which means what? The mind continues, but without a physical body. So the mind didn't die. The mind just stopped its connection with this body, which just died. So the thing in Buddhism, which is another big point, is there's no such thing as death in Buddhism. The mind never dies. Its awareness continues. It's just the body it takes starts, grows, breaks down, dies. The body dies. The awareness that the body that the awareness kind of like coheres with for a time, that body stops, but the mind keeps going. That's why they say continuity. The mind never dies. There's no such thing as an actual dead, like there is no such thing as a dead being in Buddhism. It's just that mind, the body stopped, and now all the beings that related to that mind as that body, they think, oh, the body's gone, so the mind's gone, so they're gone. But it's just that the mind is moving, the body's sitting there, laying there, whatever, and they can no longer, it seems like, oh, they're gone. But the mind is just in no body. So that's the end of the bardo of dying and death. At that moment, what happens? This is the moment every single Tibetan Buddhist practitioner is training for their entire life. This is the moment. Because at that point, there's no longer any gross or subtle thing that will block your wisdom mind from being known to itself. All the habits related to body, gross body, and subtle energy body, because those two bodies just stopped. At that point, the mind and its intelligence 100% turns on and shines without any limitation. That's called a mother luminosity. That's Rigpa. Like, it's not an approximation of Rigpa. It's not like an idea, is this Rigpa or not? It's like for every single being, human, squirrel, caterpillar, invisible being, when their body, whatever it is, stops, their mind will 100% see itself clearly with no mistakes. It will be 100% guaranteed moment of wisdom awareness. Authentic, enlightened Buddha nature, fully on. No obstruction. This is why Tibetan Buddhists are practicing for this moment. Because if you can recognize, oh, this is what I've been like practicing like this whole time. I'm trying to be in Rigpa all the time and wisdom awareness. Now, all the things that were blocking it stopped. It's like it's like the lottery moment. Like everyone wins that lottery. Like 100% jackpot for every being when they die. But you just have to recognize it and be like, oh, totally vast, totally unobstructed, utterly powerful. And like that happens and you're just like, chill. This is it. Instead of, oh my God, it's so much power. Oh my God, it's so vast. Oh my God, there's no reference. Oh, it's so open, so open. And what would we usually do? We want to lock and close. Because that's the whole samsara thing. I am this, and I am not that, and my stuff is here. Like, so that's why we're training to not do that. To relax and let go. That's the whole, say it as Buddhist meditation in two simple ways. Relax, let go. That doesn't mean relax and zone out. It means relax, let go, and because it's going to keep moving. Awareness moves, sounds move, thoughts move, it all keeps moving. But relax, stay awake, stay fresh, stay with it, and let go. Now it's loud, now it's soft, now it's outside, now it's inside. Just let go, let go, let go. We're all training for when our Rigpa, our wisdom awareness, is unsheathed. There's no mistake covering. There's no habitual pattern active. At that moment, this is called Bardo of true nature and luminosity. So I'll finish this Bardo and then we go to it. So, okay. So in that moment, 100% Rigpa, guaranteed. They call that, if we recognize it, it's called mother luminosity meeting child luminosity. It's like if you, me and Asa, like we go out on the street, we're in a thing, all of a sudden there's thousands of people out in a street party or whatever in New York City, right outside down there. Like, all right, I go out, Asa's coming from the block, thousands of people. I'm like, Asa, what's up? That's the kind of familiarity we're trying to get with this. Like a little kid and the mom, you know? Little kids lost in a market, in a mall, wherever the little kids get lost nowadays. I don't know, in their digital universe or who knows, whatever. Little kids lost. Oh, mama, where? Mom! Boom. It's an instant recognition. The kid knows who the mom is. That's called meeting of child and mother luminosities. The actual Rigpa and our version of Rigpa, what we've been practicing while we've been alive, they meet. Oh, this is it. And so that's the whole thing in Buddhism. In the whole Buddhist path, we're trying to recognize awareness, Rigpa, naturalness, open mind, original mind, when we're awake, when we're tired and awake, when we're angry and awake, when we're sleeping, when we're dreaming, when we're having sex, when we're like sick. Like the whole thing is to try to recognize this continuous thread of wakeful awareness. Because it's always in every single experience we have. And so at this point, nothing's blocking it. And we're like, oh, this is it. And at that point, they say because the mind is no longer in an embodied thing, the benefit is it no longer has the limits of a bodied thing. Meaning it doesn't get hungry. It doesn't need calcium or whatever. It's like that mind, its nature is 100% genius, and putting it in a body is like taking the sun and putting it in a box. Like, it's so bright. And so basically that brightness, the power, the unobstructedness of our nature is so vast, so profound, so dynamic that unless we get familiar with that as we're alive, it'll be shocking to us when it happens. And we'll basically push it away. We'll want to shut down. We'll basically turn our awareness off. Like, nope, not going to be with that. It's like we do. A traumatic thing's happening. What do? We shut down and numb out. Like we drugs, with turning put the channel on, watch a thing, take a walk, whatever. We like avoid it, because it's too much. In this case, if we do that, that opportunity ends. That's called the Bardo of Dharmakaya. Like, you have this true nature Bardo is subdivided into 3. Totally open, vast emptiness. That's the ultimate. The natural pure expression of the ultimate is called pure wisdom display. That's Sambhogakaya. And then the more tangible, solid version of that is called Nirmanakaya. This is all the true nature of luminosity. Pure. No habit on, no karma, no distortion. It's all just Buddha nature doing Buddha nature things. Openness Buddha nature, super radiant display Buddha nature, and even more tangible Buddha nature. Okay? No habits. There's no culture, no conditioning, no language, no patriarchy, no anything that has, like, there's no habits on now. It's just Buddha nature, unfiltered. Okay? So if the openness part is too vast, we lock up, and all of a sudden, okay, the Sambhogakaya, it starts to get what? More gross. So just like when we died, it went from super gross outer body stuff into grosser, subtle elements, gross, subtle elements into more subtle, into just pure Rigpa, unobstructed. And then that pure open Rigpa is there. And if it's too much, what do we start doing? We start getting denser. Okay? So this is the same thing in every meditation process we're doing. Creation, open, get a body, get a world, do stuff, dissolution. Dissolve the world into the others. Dissolve the others into me. Dissolve me into my own mind. Be in mind. And then we get others and a world and activities and into others and to me and to mind. That's the whole thing of Vajrayana practice is what we're doing every time. Creation and completion stages. We're mimicking this same natural cycle in a practice. So we're training to have Rigpa be on in the practices. So when we're in it, in a body, in our mind, this is like just like our practice. We've just been doing this thing for however long we did it, if we're doing it well. Yeah.
So this to me, because there's no language in Rigpa, it's just like a love feeling.
Depending,
That's
but
what
okay.
I imagine it as. Like,
Okay.
As someone who's still alive.
Okay.
Like, that's what I imagine it as, like a love feeling and an
Okay.
awareness of everything.
Okay.
And then is it that, like, if fear or worry in the mind, the actual thoughts create a density, which is like the energy is not created or destroyed, so like everything becomes dense again, and then it's like re-embodied? Is that kind of like?
Kind of. It's kind of like a sheathing, or kind of like a layering, or like a calcification, or like a holding, a tighter holding.
Right. Like somehow the energy gets tighter, and that actually leads to embodiment.
The mind starts closing itself to itself. The wisdom awareness starts shutting itself down. So like a thing that happens, so with Rigpa, with like wisdom awareness, it actually includes every story, every display. It's not no displays. It's actually all of them. But here in this specific window of Bardo of true nature, we're talking about only the pure ones. No karmic habits. But this is specifically taught about in the Tantra as pure lands. Deity.
Or what?
Pure land. Deity, mantra, dharmakaya. The three kayas. Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya. These are super big topics. So it's going first from the most imperceptible, subtlest, that's called formless, into semi-form, into form. So pure formless, pure semi-form, pure form. This is all in Rigpa, and it has tons of patterns. It's just the openness part is like totally referenceless, like free flow, but there's all kinds of patterns. You're just not locked into any of them.
Right, like just an awareness.
It's
Like a
awareness
loving
that's aware
awareness.
of every single pattern.
Right.
That's the thing. It's just not in one channel or 8 channels or a whole galaxy of them. It's in all of them. That's called omniscience. It's literally in every single position simultaneously, and there's infinite positions. It's all of space and everything included in space. That's the more formless side. So real quick, and then I'll get to your thing, Asa. So, and I'm trying to do this fast. So from total openness, formlessness, it starts, it's too open, it's too referenced, it's too vast. We kind of close down, and what happens is the pure arising quality of Rigpa starts to shine. They say it starts to shine as first. What's the next thing from open formlessness? The next thing is sound, semi-form.
Mm-hmm.
And then sound denses into shape. And then shape gets denser into body, and then body gets denser into body with things. And then this is exactly what we do in meditation practice. We go from we did it today when I was like kind of guiding the meditation. Open, vast. Okay, now pervade it with compassion. Okay, now take a shape as Guru Rinpoche. These are called the 3 samadhis in the Mahayoga style. You train in pure formlessness, and then you have a pure formlessness pervaded by compassion. That's called true nature samadhi, the first one. And then you train in the true nature samadhi plus the all arising compassion samadhi. That's called Sambhogakaya. Then you train in it taking shape, called the seed syllable samadhi or the causal samadhi. All of a sudden you're getting into shapes in bodies interacting, but it's all pure. So which is just to say there's practices to do this in your life, in the life Bardo, and then there's when it's actually happening. Those practices get super relevant because you're like, I've already done infinite compassion expansion. I've already done formless open, anything can be okay, and I'm okay. Like, so in this true nature samadhi or true nature Bardo, it goes super vast, totally open, and then if that's too much, we gel and it's sounds. And they say the sounds are like thousands thunderclaps simultaneously. This is our nature displaying itself. It's not like only like this G major, you know? It's like every single sonic boom is what our nature does when we don't hold it in any way. And if that's too much, it becomes these beams of light. It's going from open mind to sound to light. Beams of light. They say it's like these totally piercing light beams. And if that's too much and we're like, because we have a sense of like, I'm me and not that. Right? We're locking into me. Oh, too much sound. Oh, shape. We're pulling back from our own awareness. This is called we're just like, it's too much. It's not a habit, but it's just, we're not used to it. So we kind of have this feel like it's like pummeled by it kind of. It's literally our own awareness can't handle its own fullness. So then from sound, it becomes these piercing beams of light, which start taking shapes. This is all Togal stuff. This is what Togal is referencing. It's what all the more elaborate Tantra teachings are talking about when they're talking about Pure Lands and deities and all these amazing cities. And so now we're getting into pure form, which begins with peaceful deities. Our own Buddha nature starts taking the shape of peaceful Buddhas. And if that's too much, they dissolve and they start taking the shape of wrathful Buddhas. Mm-hmm. And if that's too much, end of true nature Bardo. We go into this Sippa Bardo of becoming. So that was our Buddha nature. That whole Bardo is just our Buddha nature doing Buddha nature stuff. First, it's open, infinite, vast Buddha nature. Then it's like sonic, perfect, pure sound Buddha nature. That's too much. Blazing, beaming lights of all these different colors and sound. This is all Buddha nature. It's called Togal visions, is one way we train in it. That's too much. It starts taking more and more dense, more and more dense. Okay, now it's beings. Now it's, Okay, now it's Vajrasattva. Now it's Ratnasambhava. Now it's Amoghasiddhi. Now it's all these beings that we've tried to, because we had a Yidam practice, if we were Tibetan Buddhists, some kind of deity practice. And that was so that at this time, oh, this is just like my Vajraklaya practice. Oh, that is me. That's my projection. That's me. I'm Vajraklaya. Boom. All of a sudden, that awareness can get enlightened. If I recognize the sound as me, can get enlightened. If I recognize the space as me, can get enlightened. This is why we train now. So that when this time comes where it's unavoidably going to happen, these, what otherwise would be overwhelming self-displays, they're like, oh, that's me. Oh, that's Vajraklaya, that's me. Oh, that's Medicine Buddha, that's me. Like, I've been doing that practice all along. My teacher always said, that's your mind. Medicine Buddha's there, Medicine Buddha's here. They're the same. Guru Yoga is the same thing. The teacher arises outside. Teacher blesses you. Their teacher dissolves. They mingle into your full awareness. The awareness of the teacher, the wisdom of the teacher, wisdom mind of the teacher, and your own mind become inseparable, indistinguishable. That's called Rigpa, wisdom mind. We've been training in that. That's like, this is bedrock Tibetan Buddhist stuff. We're just training so when this happens naturally and there's not any kind of imaginative anything, it's just like, oh, I've been doing this. It's like the whole thing I've been training for the whole time. But if that's too much at that point, our karmic habits start turning back on. This is called Sipa Bardo, Bardo of becoming. The awareness, the Buddha nature was too much for itself, and it's preferring at this point to feel okay when its karmic habits are on. Okay, so then it's getting more dense now. Now it's not pure dense. Now it's getting into impure display. Or this is where karmic embodiment starts happening. Okay, so for this is like what we're practicing for Nirmanakaya realization, where then it says at this point, try to visualize whatever you experience as like two Buddhas together in union. If you're trying to get a human rebirth, which is really good, try to these two Buddhas in union. There's all kinds of practices. And you're trying to actually see them as your own mind so that you can get a really positive rebirth. So when you're born as a little baby, girl or boy or whatever, then you have a good parents, they have good connection to Dharma, like, because you're actually training to like, you want your continuity of your practice to like have a good set of conditions so that it can continue. But if that's too much, then at this point, they say this Bardo of becoming has 7 features, and I know we're late. I'll wrap it up in like 2 minutes.
I just had one quick question because it's really bothering me because
Yeah.
so many times you talked about luminosity, and one
Okay.
of the most common things that people are told to tell people when they're dying is go towards the light.
Okay.
Does this relate to anything you're saying?
Yeah, so it's a hard one. Luminosity is like, in one way, it has nothing to do with light. It's the self-knowing cognizance of awareness itself.
Okay.
It's self-illuminating, like a candle both offers light and self-lights. Like that's this interesting quality of fire.
Yeah.
But wisdom does that too. It self-illuminates. It's not like it has an object and then a wisdom turns on. The knowing quality is literally a part of how Buddha nature is. It always has wisdom as the fabric of its reality. So that's called self-cognizance or luminosity. Has nothing to do with light.
So it's not a helpful thing to tell people.
It depends. So then there's the like self-cognizance can start to take shape or embodiment, shape and worlding. And this has to do with light. So usually they say with these Bardo teachings, and this is all super general, the brighter, the better. Like the brighter, that's why I go into a Tibetan Buddhist temple, it's all like, dang, this is all vivid, bright in here. It's not like super quiet, cozy, gray tones and stuff. Because the Buddha nature, when it self-displays, is super vivid. It's not toned down at all for like sentient being, like I want this sweet music. It's super vivid, super dynamic. It's like full on bright. So that a general thing of advice for that is, I mean, always that bright lights are better. Dimmer lights where it's like a little cozier, they're usually not as good. But I mean, that's like saying when you're dreaming, go to the bright light. Like if you have no capacity to be aware while you dream, it's not really helpful advice. But if you do, then go for the bright, because bright is more like how the Buddha nature is before it gets toned down, because like the brightness is just too much, you know? So usually the brighter is better, and each color relates to Buddha fields and certain pure lands and certain deities and activities. So that's all like really outlined a lot in the text. Brighter is usually better. But what we really want to do is turn on bodhicitta. They say the 3 things we need in these Bardo and that Bardo is your view, which means wisdom awareness. The yidam, which is if we get to deity practice, like really activate your connection to that. And the most easy one for almost all of us is devotion. Devotion to whoever your personal teacher was. Because for most fleshy and body beings, like I believe that this human in front of me is real more than my imagined deity is real. For most beings who are like just not really accomplished at practice, we just like, I believe that this paper is more real than like my idea of, anything. Like I believe that the more tangible stuff is more real, right? I'm just like a literalist, materialist addict. So devotion is going to be a really helpful thing. Because it's easy to be like, help me, That's why like, it's not theism, but it's like if you're oriented towards your teacher in a way to activate bodhicitta, wisdom, and compassion, then in these times of emergency where it's like, man, my ears aren't working, my eyes aren't working, I'm super dry, I can't move my hands, all these sounds are happening, what the hell's happening? Oh, please, teacher, like help me recognize my nature of mind and my bodhicitta. This habit, if we had it strong, boom, it's like a direct channel to recognizing bodhicitta. It's super practical habit to have. That's why they say anytime, and like this is the wrap up. I hate to wrap this up, there's just so much in this. But the wrap up is, if ever you're like, is this real? Am I dreaming? Am I dead? Like, anytime you're like, whoa, this is kind of trippy, weird. Like, what's happening, If you get in some digital playground later when it's all embedded and we have chips and all that stuff, if you're like, is this a simulation? Be like, Amitabha. That's the thing to think of. Buddha Amitabha. They say that this is like a big point in all these teachings. The actual being, Amitabha was a Buddha. Before he was a sentient being, on his path, he made these aspirations that I want to have a pure land where it's easy for beings to get into my pure land. So in that pure land, it's not some heavenly realm. It's like a place utterly designed for harmonious Dharma nature interdependence. And if a being gets in there, everything supports their Dharma practice, their Buddha nature to like totally fully turn on. So it's this really like supercharged zone for bodhisattvas to like really get a lot of realization fast. So then they can come back in worlds and help in Detroit and come to New York City to sweep the streets and stuff, like whatever. But these pure lands, Amitabha in particular, had this wish, this aspiration that if my pure land, if like anyone who thinks of me in my pure land, like they should be let in, like allowed to take rebirth in my pure land easily, or else I will not attain enlightenment. And he attained enlightenment, and that power of aspiration makes it very easy to be reborn in his pure land in particular. So anytime you're like, this is kind of weird, or it's like, oh, something's wrong, or it's like, who's that active shooter? Like, God, nowadays, like there's an active shooter every single day in this country. Like if it's like we're in it and it's like, of course, all your usual emotion, like all the common sense stuff turn on, but the more direct one is like Amitabha. Go to Amitabha's pure land. Because if we're dreaming, or if we're actually dying, and our mind goes to Amitabha's pure land, because of his aspiration connection, we can easily get reborn into his pure land. It's a question of the power of mind when we're in a dream or when we're dead. It's only mind. Now it's only mind, but when we're dreaming, it's definitely only mind. When we're dying, it's literally only mind. There's no body anymore. And that means the mind has the power to create everything. And if we think of our teacher or bodhicitta or Buddha Amitabha at that point, instantly we'll go to his pure land. And then we'll take birth there, and then we'll very easily get realization so we can come help beings now, like everywhere, in a much less limited way. Like we'll really get on the boomies fast. So like as a key takeaway point, Amitabha practice, they say, generating the strong, and they say it's the same way we do with every practice. Generate bodhicitta, 1. Do meritorious, virtuous activity. That's like bodhicitta being kind, in life. 3, visualize and want to be reborn for all beings in Amitabha's pure land. That's this true nature Bardo. That's the Pure Lands, or like the denser, more shapely versions of the true nature Bardo, deities and mandalas and enlightened like places. So the third is like really visualize like that place and want to be there. And 4, dedicate the merit for all beings to be born there. If we do these 4 things, then it becomes very easy to take rebirth in Amitabha's Pure Land. Have bodhicitta, that's in every practice. Do meritorious activity, that's in every practice. Every Tibetan Buddhist practice, right? Want to go to Amitabha's Pure Land to benefit all beings, that's specifically with this. 4, dedicate the merit for every being to be reborn in Amitabha's Pure Land. That's a 4th. If we do that now, it's very easy to get rebirth in Amitabha's Pure Land when we die. Then, no more karmic birth after that. We'll have no more samsara birth. We'll get really good realization. We'll have a lot of ability to then we can come back as any kind of embodiment in any world system for help so many beings forever. That's what we'll endlessly do forever from that point on. There's no end to Buddha nature happening, and there's no end to samsaric beings. Like we just keep not knowing, but we can wake up. There is an end to samsara, which is called awareness, knowing itself correctly. That is the end of all Bardo. That's wisdom awareness, or Rigpa, the true nature Bardo in this 6 kind of frame sequence. But the instant we're in Rigpa, the Bardos stop. When we get out of Rigpa, the Bardos restart. And if we can stay in Rigpa, that's called a first Bhumi realization, or we become a Buddha, then the Bardos are just nightmares that beings who don't, or like confused beings like me, don't see, and we just believe in this dense way of holding, of mind not knowing itself. So then this Sippa Bardo continues, Bardo becoming, then that mind wanders, it gets linked up to a certain habit. So that means like try to train your mind to like do virtuous stuff now. Don't like think of like a bunch of torture movies and stuff all the time, because if certain habit turns on in a certain dream, like in that experience of dying, like a habit turns on, and all of a sudden, just like we can go to Amitabha's Pure Land, we can also go into a pen of pigs, you know? Like it's like the mind is just creating it. Like there's 7 uncertainties of the mind. Food is uncertain, destination's uncertain, body's uncertain, friends are uncertain, like environment's uncertain. This like in this Sippa Bardo time, it's all uncertain. And basically as these, they're usually said to be about 49 days or so of human time. Halfway through, it gets so uncertain of like place and time. Like have you ever been in a place and you're hungry and now you're like hangry, and like now you're like, people are like, you don't know who these people are and you don't know where you're going, and like it's like a homeless person, like where you're like just, then there's like adversarial people around you and stuff. It gets tense and you just want to like get in a safe spot and like just be done with it. Like I'm just gonna like just want to be okay now. That gets stronger during the Sippa Bardo with each time as the days progress, and we get more and more tight, and we're just like, I just want to be somewhere secure. And that's when the mind gets really antsy, and it's just like, I want to be somewhere secure, and it could be a mosquito body. That's why it's like, bring your past virtue to mind, connect to Dharma, connect to your teacher, see everything as deities, and then when it gets really tight and antsy, we'll go to a Dharma next embodiment instead of a mosquito or some random planet or something, you know? And so then we intentionally are trying, okay, I didn't see the 3 kayas, I'm getting to have a body, and I want a certain good body so that when I'm born and have another life cycle, another life Bardo, then it can be easier to do Dharma again then. And so that we intentionally try to reconnect to that, and then we get in a body. Again, this is just mind holding itself, so the mind holds itself in a body. All of a sudden, we link up with certain beings, like certain humans, like having sex, or certain animals, or certain pure realm, or like some other realms. And then we kind of lock in, and then we're like, our mind over-identifies with that specific physical like the setup of whatever the physical and container or body is for that mind. And then it like is a victim or influenced by that embodiment until the duration of that body stops and it dies. Then we repeat the thing. This is the 6 Bardos. So it's a big topic. Thanks for like opening into the obstacle course vision of this. There's so much to say. Each of these Bardos has all these techniques and practices. The main practice for all of them is turn on bodhicitta. That's the main topic of every single Tibetan Buddhist Vajrayana everything. Turn on love, compassion, and wisdom. That bodhicitta has an absolute side, which is called deathless nature, or the unconditioned, or ultimate. That has a relative relational side. The relational side is the love and the compassion part. And the absolute side is the wisdom part. That's when we say love, compassion, wisdom. It's the absolute and relative together as bodhicitta, always together. And then we can approach that both so we can get free. I turn on bodhicitta so I am free of suffering. And then when we're a little more free, then in that freedom, we just want to connect because we it's part of we're interdependently interacting with all these other minds and their experiences. We show up with tender-hearted care and compassion. That's called other liberation. And all of a sudden we use our connections, our teachings, our paths, our techniques, not so I can get free, but so in freedom, I can better relate to others in a mutually uplifting, lovely way, and we can create cool stuff together. And eventually we get so natural at this that we start creating pure lands together. We get real accomplishment, and then that becomes these kind of generators of activity that beings can really get super nourished by, as opposed to just temporary band-aids. That becomes these wisdom mandalas, like Amitabha's Pure Land, that beings in the future will be able to come to our way of realming, worlding together. And that's one way we'll be able to help, including also the more dense ways too. So thank you, friends. We'll just pause for just a silent minute, be in this kind of absolute bodhicitta. Let all these kind of words and shapes and sounds dissolve back into their absolute bodhicitta nature, this pure formlessness. And then, we'll do a short dedication of merit. I can say it here. Let's see. I'll just say the dedication of merit. It's a few lines. So first, silent meditation, or Dzogchen. It's Rigpa absolute aspect. And then we'll re-arise again as the pure expressive quality of love and compassion with these dedication prayers for the enlightenment of all beings. Gari rawe kowe zingam su pendan de wam halu juwe ne chere ze wan tenzin jatso hi jabe gaje badu denjo ji. That's the only style Lama's prayer. Om swasti bidzayan tu juzum zazum jidu pema junine sodeb duje dujinji. Khenchen Palden Sherab tupeku kuze dajin zezan dajin sho. It's Khenchen Palden Sherab Rinpoche's long life prayer. Om swasti sewang rigzin peme jin labji doni drupe lasan orena. Shedrum kolo sumji pajuate sanchen antam shole nam chan sho. That's Venerable Khenpo Tsewang Dongyal Rinpoche's long life prayer. And then a few in English. By this merit, may all obtain omniscience. May it defeat the enemy wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. The precious bodhicitta, and those without it, may it be generated. And those who have it, may it never diminish, but always continue increasing. May the great tradition of Khenpo Tsewang Lopan Padmasambhava, and Dharma King Tritsen Detsen increase and spread throughout the three-realm world. May the appearance of the three jewels and the mind streams of beings remain inseparable and bring sublime well-being throughout the three times. Deity, mantra, and dharmakaya are the nature of appearance, sound, and awareness, the pervasive kaya and wisdom display of the Buddhas. May practitioners of the profound and secret great perfection remain inseparable from the innermost, one-taste awareness of wisdom mind. Thank you, friends. Thank you so much. Thanks for your patience also with kind of like navigating some of the richness of these teachings. A big takeaway is like, even as kind of overflowing as this richness is, it's actually just trying to point towards like all these lives we've already been through. Like, and it's really clear that the one thing that we haven't done, if we're a sentient being, is we haven't gotten really familiar with our own wisdom awareness. Because if we had, in all these opportunities previously to have gotten liberation, we would have gotten liberated. Like in the moment of true nature after dying, like we would have gotten realization. So this is, of all the things that we could do in this life, it's really good we spend a little bit of time at least to try to get a little more familiar with what is this wisdom mind I have? What is this bodhicitta? And like a big practical thing we can do with that is like seek out some people, seek out some beings that are really good at this. They're like really good at bodhicitta, and they're really intelligent, wise, kind, compassionate beings, because like actually learning from some of them, and there's many of them on this planet now. There's like a lot of great Tibetan Buddhist masters, and I'm sure other wisdom traditions have them too. I really hope so. But like take some extra time to like get familiar with this aspect of our awareness, of our embodiment. Like it's the one thing that if we're a sentient being, we really haven't gotten familiar with, which is this tragic comedy thing. It's the thing that's always in our experience. This wisdom awareness is like always a part of every single moment of our awareness. So please, like, take time to get a little more familiar with that yourself. I say this to myself and also with others. See their Buddha nature, see our own Buddha nature. We can make so much beautiful, gorgeous, awesome stuff together. And little by little we do. And these moments make a big, big difference in this longer haul, like this much vast kind of experience we're all a part of. So, genuine wish. Thank you, friends.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.